Следующий доклад, один из самых, наверное, долгожданных докладов этой конференции вообще. Действительно, кто бы мог подумать, но разноцветные бешеные птички захватили сознание миллионов. И сейчас Anastasios Katopodis из компании Rovio расскажет нам историю успеха Angry Birds, начиная от самой первой игры Angry Birds и до Angry Birds Star Wars. So, Anastasios, please welcome.
Hello to everyone. You heard my name. I love games. My love for games dates back to the early Sierra adventure games and the first Atari gaming console my father bought me. Between then and now, I did some political science, history, and sociology, not much gaming, but at some point I was broke. So I decided I needed a job, and I started working for the Finnish game studio of Digital Chocolate, Sumea. I started as a localizations tester, pretty low. I did a lot of jobs for them, and I left them 4 years later to work for the Nokia MiG organization. Nowadays, I work as an external producer for external productions producer for Rovio, and I was employee number 100 when I joined. Nowadays they count overall 500 people working for them, and around 250 people work for the gaming studio, so that's working out pretty well for them. I'm here to share some obvious and important practices that game developers often tend to miss. And I see that a lot when I try games on the AppStores and when I participate pitching sessions. So let's see what we have to learn from Angry Birds. Let's hit it off. Rovio has been around since 2003 and has released 50 games before Angry Birds, or around 50 games before Angry Birds. They are called Rovio, which means bonfire in Finnish, and you get a pretty good idea what kind of games they were working on before Angry Birds. Their games were pretty hardcore, and they learned a few lessons out of doing those games. First of all, failing is a good way of learning. Then they didn't give up when they didn't make it big. And then one thing that is important to share with everyone is that hardcore gaming on smartphones and tablets is not necessarily a great idea. A lot of people might be passionate about this type of games, but it doesn't necessarily mean that these games will reach the masses. In 2008, 2009, Rovio did one last subcontracting job to raise some money for an internal title, and that title was to become Angry Birds. All right, so before we even go into the creative part, we need to talk a little bit about the top-level focus. I know a lot of people start prototyping a game after going out with their friends in a bar, and they'll have a few beers, they'll come up with a great idea, and they say, like, hey, I need to do this right now. This is going to make me big. You know, I'm not here to take the fun out of making games. It should be a fun process to come up with an idea, but you might want to have a little bit of a top-level focus before you even get to the idea generation part. Okay, I can't see that, but you can. The top-level focus of Rovio when they started thinking of games that led them to Angry Birds. They've got a smartphone game, they got touchscreen controls, they wanted to have strong characters, they wanted to make a game that's suitable for all ages, and they wanted to make a game with 2D physics. There's a couple of things we can learn from that, actually. Touchscreen controls nowadays is the standard. Back then it was a conscious decision. But I mean, you know, I'm a producer, so I've seen a lot of that, and I've tried a lot of that, and I have to tell you that, you know, and I've actually been in a couple of sessions here like that I got pitched games. Try not to use virtual joysticks. People are not happy trying to hit that little spot there, down there on the right or left corner. It takes away some of the fun from playing the game. And you'd think designers would know by now, but game after game, you see the same thing. Then strong characters. It's extremely important to have strong characters if you want to build a brand around your game later on. If it's successful, it will enable you to do so many things, gameplay and marketing-wise. Once you've covered all that, then you can go into the ideas generation part. And Angry Birds was not the first thing that came to mind. This is a collage of ideas by the lead designer of Angry Birds. And he came up with a bunch of concepts. Angry Birds was not the only concept that was being pitched at the time. I have to say I like this approach because basically having a list of concepts to choose from enables you to feel more confident going forward. If you know that you chose the special one out of the list, then you won't be second guessing yourself all the time thinking, did I choose the right thing? Why did I go for the first thing that came to mind? Is it even a good idea? But if you have it to compare, if you can compare it with a bunch of other ideas you had, then it's probably gonna make you feel more confident. And out of this bunch, this is the idea that won. As you can see, it doesn't even yet have a slingshot, but it kind of puts a smile on your face. This is how that concept looked when it was released. And this is how this concept looks today. Not bad, right? Star Wars. All right. Let's talk about the Angry Birds overall development project. In my opinion, all game projects should be agile. They should be open to change and they should be iterative. The core team of Angry Birds was 4 people. There was a designer, there was a programmer, there was an artist, and there was a producer. Sounds were outsourced, but the team ended up doing some of the sounds themselves. They gathered up in the office, had a few beers, and recorded some of the pig and the bird sounds. They did it using PCs, and they did Lua scripting, a lot of Lua scripting, which was a good decision for this particular game because that enabled the designer to experiment a lot with the levels, experiment a lot with the values of the objects used in the levels without bothering the programmers all the time. So the programmers could concentrate on what really matters for them. And then, you see iterative there. Some managers and some designers might freak out with that. That's because, and actually all of us a little bit tend to think that if so many people are involved in making the game, so many people have an opinion about what's fun and what not, so many people have an opinion about the design, how do you get to the finishing line? Like, aren't we going to miss the deadlines if, we have to take into consideration every single piece of feedback we get? Not true. I said that we can use Agile, we can organize sprints. There's a lot of things you can do so that you don't get lost. You can plan ahead. Try not to get sidetracked from the goals you agreed during a planning session. And don't second guess yourself before it's time for a real review. Organize your feedback. Your feedback does not need to be chaotic, and address it in little bits. That's going to get you there. All right, so we covered the project, we covered the top level focus. Let's talk about how we in Rovio believe Angry Birds is a great game, what we have learned out of the success of Angry Birds, and what the fans think makes Angry Birds special. A couple of things there. All right. It's fun, right? Yeah. Cool. I believe so too. So there's a bunch of things that make it fun. One of them being humor. I mean, if you think of a horror console gaming title, some of them use humor to break the ice. There's little bits of humor here and there to spice things up. So, I mean, why wouldn't it work for the casual crowd? The casual crowd where it is really where it comes to life. You got quirky characters. What you remember about Angry Birds is the angry birds, and that the pigs are pretty stupid. That's memorable. I mean, again, you can't build a brand around your game if you don't have memorable characters, and quirkiness is the way to make your characters memorable. Then you want to use cartoony graphics, really. If you're aiming for the casual crowd, it's good to be cartoony. You can reach kids that way, and let me tell you, you really want to reach kids with your game. Of course, you know, you might be interested only in a specific demographic of players, but if you want to hit those big numbers, you want to get kids. And while you're using cartoony characters, remember, that's not an excuse to use explicit art. Doesn't mean that because it's cartoony, you can put tits and asses all over your game. Then wacky sound design. Well, sounds, of course, should be memorable. Sounds should be straightforward, simple, something that somebody can whistle, something that sticks with you. But while you're doing it, remember to have fun. I told you how some of the sound effects in the Angry Birds game were created. All right, the game's got to be easy. Clear concept and simplicity. Right. If you don't know which part of your game is supposed to crack a smile on people's faces, then I guess it's not worth going into the trouble in the first place. You got to be sure about what you're doing. You got to make it clear what is your core gameplay, what will interest people, what will engage people. And complicated game designs, more often than not, basically hide away the lack of a strong and clear core concept. So make sure you understand what you're aiming for. And then simplicity, well, if a player needs no instructions to complete a gameplay session the first time around within 5 minutes, then you've got something good in your hands. If that gameplay session is attended by a 5-year-old, then you've got something potentially highly addictive in your hands. And I can tell you what, kids are really loyal to their brands much more than their parents. And I have to say, I mean, I give an example from my personal life. My kid loves Cars, the Pixar animation movie, and I didn't really like it until I had to see it for 3 months straight, day and night. I then got pretty interested in it, and I thought that this is something I have in common with him. So I started buying him stuff, and I started thinking that it's not a bad movie. After all, simplicity, of course, doesn't only mean, you know, simple game design. It can be everywhere. Check this out. All right, these are the birds and the pigs from the Angry Birds game. They don't have legs. They don't have, you know, wings. They're pretty odd looking, but they're really, really simple. Somebody could go into doodling them on a piece of paper while talking to somebody. That's what I call memorable. That's what's going to stick with the people who play your game. And now check this out. You can do a lot, actually, with very little. And here's how I prove my point. Game concept, 10 times more complicated. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's not very straightforward. But, you know, with very little and simple, still very simple art, you get a pretty good idea of who's who. I mean, if there's any Star Wars fans out there, you know, I'd be surprised if you can't say which bird is Han Solo. Anyone? All right, fantastic. That's the one. Proves my point. And then familiar elements. This is one of my personal favorites. Very often during the development process of a project, struggling to make things good, you take functionalities on board that are not simple to explain. And when you show your game to people, they have trouble actually doing that thing that they're supposed to do. And that baffles the whole team, that baffles the designer, and they start thinking, what can I do to make this better? More often than not, people will go for a textual explanation, a pop-up message, a tutorial sequence. Well, we all know that's not necessarily a good thing to do, because people are not into reading stuff when they are, starting up their game. So there's a lot of things you can do, and familiar elements comes into play right here. Check this example. Well, you already saw that Angry Birds was not supposed to have a slingshot in the first place. Well, it didn't. You had to fling the bird towards the structure and bring down the tower and kill the pigs. Of course, when people were trying it out, they couldn't figure out what they needed to do. We could have gone for a textual explanation, but we didn't do that. Actually, this is what we did. We added a slingshot, and then immediately people knew what they needed to do to fire the birds. Simple and great. Gameplay. Well, depth and replay. I wonder if anyone can guess what that would mean. How does Angry Birds does depth and replay? Why would you replay an Angry Birds level? Thank you very much. 3-star it. It's an easy way to put casual gaming and hardcore gaming side by side. It's a good way of, instantaneously allowing people to experience different levels of gameplay. Restarting your game, just like consoles do, when you have your normal mode, you have your hardcore mode, you have your extreme mode. In some cases, restarting your game on a mobile device, on a smartphone, is not necessarily a good idea. You don't want to invest that much of time. Then, total control. Angry Birds is a good game for that. I mean, you shoot the bird and then you just lay back and watch structures coming down. It's fun to watch things being destroyed. I like things being destroyed. My kid brings down the tower as soon as we have made a tower out of blocks. And yeah, I mean, the element though that is important in this situation is that you don't have to stress about it. You just fling the bird and the structure comes down, and you can watch that happen. That creates an illusion of control over the game. Then you've got action and satisfaction. It's if you've got a turn-based game, it can be boring. Waiting for things to happen really sucks. I don't want to wait for things to happen. I don't want to do things continuously. Then again, I don't want to stress about them. So you got to be smart and fishy with this one. You got to figure out how to balance things out. But the important thing is that if some game mechanics are better than others in creating this feeling to the users that they are they're on top of things, they are in control of things, and for the casual crowd, you don't want to scare people away. You don't want to expect them to time their moves, to hit really fast the screen on some specific spot, because they get stressed and they run away. And actually, the ones that more often run away are the ones that will give you their money. Then pick up and play. What's that? Two things. Get to the core gameplay fast. I guess everybody working on smartphone devices and casual gaming should be aware of that. You don't want to spend half an hour before you can start playing. Get there fast. And then regarding specifically the gameplay sessions, you don't want to go for long gameplay sessions. The casual crowd does not particularly like long gameplay sessions. And if you absolutely need to have a long gameplay session, then don't forget to put some checkpoints. Make it easy for players to pick up your game, play, take a break, pick up your game again without losing significant progress. That'll reward them. The average gameplay session of Angry Birds at least the statistics that I found, was 7 minutes. And I think that's really long, really long. And it's a byproduct of the fact that you can actually have a really short gameplay session. You can complete a round of Angry Birds within 2-3 minutes, and that's great. All right. Level design. That one gets no love usually. That one gets little attention, you know. This is one of the most important aspects, I believe, especially if your game has explicit levels. But you know, this is something you really need to pay attention. There's a bunch of things you can do basically with levels to create value for your game. Creative does not need to mean tons of art and 100 different places to visit or 200 different gameplay modes. You can do, again, a lot with little. Check this out. So, okay, the first tower on the top, I guess, left? Yes. It's a pretty basic structure with the pigs on top, and you can do a bunch of those, but eventually you'll get bored doing them, and the people who play them will get bored of playing them. So how can you get out from that tight spot? Well, I mean, I had a conversation with a lead designer of Angry Birds a couple of days back, and he was saying that, you know, it's really easy to make a level and to make an interesting level when you have something thematic in your head. When you think of something that you want to recreate in your levels and start doing it. Once you're done with it, don't forget to check that it actually plays well, that it's usable, and it will reward players by playing it. So using this technique, we got a bunch of interesting stuff. So you can see here, there is a, what is it, on the top right corner, you can see an ancient Greek temple. On the bottom right corner, you see a Tetris level. Hope somebody guessed it. Then you got a couch with horses, you got a sheep, you got a pyramid. Hey, the top, the bottom right corner is one of my favorites. That's a double burger with fries and yeah, and a soda. Yeah, then of course, you know, being creative is one aspect of it, but you need to spend the time to polish your stuff. I mean, you can't just you know, create something playable and feel that it's ready. You got to balance that difficulty curve. You are welcome to put little surprises in your level, something that will interest people. Angry Birds level have these special moves that, you know, they lead to rewarding destruction, and you know, we talked already about different layers of gameplay. And finally, and then, you know, I said it in the beginning, I'll say it again. With level design, you can create a lot of value for money. Angry Birds goes for 0.89 cents on the App Store, and it's got way over 200 levels. I mean, guys and girls, do the math. It's like, I'd give my money for that. I'm getting a lot of product for that price point. And yeah, okay, I mean, that's a lot of levels I'm talking about. Not everything needs to be ready upon launch. There's no better way of getting players back to your game by releasing a content update with more levels. This one's close to my heart. You know, I'm a producer, so. This is what I call the 5 Bs. First of all, if you're a producer, you're out there and you're a producer in your team, you want to keep your team happy, right? That's the first thing we try to do always. So what makes it easy for us to keep a happy team? Well, make sure your team members get to know each other. And I don't mean who's the programmer and who's the designer. Chances are they know who these people are. But you can do tricks. You can have people introduce themselves in a round circle. I mean, talk a little bit about themselves, their favorite food, their favorite movies, their favorite music. You might want to go as far as forcing the people to prepare a presentation that they give to other people. That's not uncommon, actually. And once they get to know each other on a personal level, they'll work a lot happier together. They'll be, happy to help out the guy sitting next to them. And the 5 Bs, a little bit about that. Yeah, okay, be committed, be grateful, be respectful, be open, and be nice. Right, be committed. They're probably just going to hate it. They just need the answer. And it's going to make things for everyone very complicated if that happens all the time. The same thing for programmers. I mean, it's not just designers who do that. I mean, if you need some art from the artist, explain very well and very carefully what you need so that the artist will not have to do that art 100 times over. And open. If you have a problem and you're working with a team that you like, you're probably going to speak about your problem. You're going to share your troubles with your teammates, with your friends, and they're going to be able to help you. If you hate the guys you're working with, you're just going to take week after week trying to solve that problem that you can't just figure out. And, well, be nice, And I can't stress this one enough. Basically, I have a special place in my heart for designers regarding the nice bit. I mean, it's nothing personal to whoever out there is a designer, but you guys tend to dismiss design feedback, meaning everybody works on the game on a daily basis. They come up with great ideas, and those great ideas might actually be really bad ideas design-wise. But if the first thing you do when you hear a bad idea is dismiss it and be disrespectful towards the person that's giving you this feedback, they're not going to do things for you anymore, and they're not going to be happy to do things for you anymore. So be nice. They're going to call you an asshole. If you do that, chances are you're going to be called an asshole. So be nice, and even a great idea can turn into a bad game if you don't have people being nice to each other. And this is Jaakko Isalo. He's a great guy. He's a very nice person. He's the lead designer of Angry Birds. He's the guy who came up with it, and he's a super nice guy. Angry Birds would be nowhere as successful as it is today if that guy was not nice. Then, okay, we talked about what you can do before, what you can do to bring a successful game to its release. But it's a pretty competitive environment out there. And for this one, I'll actually use the App Store as a reference. What can you do to make your game pop? A little bit about the competitive environment. That's old. You can see that the App Store back in the day had 300,000 paid apps. Now it's over 700,000. So being number one, seriously, a drop in the ocean. Should you be discouraged, not even try it? No, you should try it. If you have a good game in your hands and you believe you have a chance to make it big, take it. There's a bunch of things you can do. And then, if you're not in the top 100, basically, chances are you're not making any money. The top 100 games, as you can see from this slide, actually make most of the money on the App Store. And last thing you want to know about the App Stores, particularly about the Apple App Store, you want to get featured. You want to do anything you can to be featured by Apple. There's a couple of tricks. We'll speak about them in a while. And this is what happened to Angry Birds when we got featured by Apple. Before we got featured by Apple, those bars there that are really, really low, they represent, 50 to 100 downloads a day. And once the game got featured by Apple, went up to 15 to 20,000 a day. That's a huge, huge change. So, what can you do to make your game pop? Prepare your battle plan. All right, okay, the first one is free version, but if you have a bad game, don't make a free version. That'll kill your chances of making any money. Even a bad game can make a little bit of money. It won't cover the cost of production, but basically, if you have a free version, it'll be even worse. But if you have a good game, people want to try before they buy. They want to try your game, and if they're happy with it, then basically you'll see conversion rates like that. This is an easy way actually monitoring of how well you have done during your development process, how well your idea is faring in the app stores. Platforms and app stores. I said, if you have a chance to make it big, take that chance. Don't think only, meaning I'm using as an example the Apple App Store, but if you have a chance, make it for Google Play, make it for Windows Phone, make it for any platform out there. If you have the time and resources, make an OS X version, make a Windows version, make a Linux version. The more people get to play your game, the easier the word will spread. Monitor your price performance. Yeah. There was a time when Angry Birds was going for $1.99. That didn't work well. People were not buying the game. And you might think that, I put $1.99 worth of trouble into making my game, and I'm not prepared to go any lower than that. Well, that's not necessarily what the players are thinking. So Angry Birds dropped the price, Rovio dropped the price of Angry Birds to $0.89, and people started buying the game a lot. So, I'd say even consider giving away your game for a while. You want to get a lot of players trying to, you want a lot of players to play your game. You want a lot of players to see your game, and that's a really good way of doing it. Then, updates. We talked about that. You want to have content updates ready. You've got a lot of levels in Angry Birds, and a lot of them came, even, what was it? I think it was three days after the original release that we released more levels. That's a great way of getting players back to your game. And to the day, this is the most effective way for Rovio to climb back the charts. Of course, you want to do an update with content, and you don't want to do an update with a hotfix. You don't want to be there fixing, those crashes that you missed when you were developing. That's the most certain way of, shooting your own leg. Yeah. Focus on quality. Actually, missing a deadline to nail down an annoying bug and crash it, it's a good thing to do. I'm not in favor of spending a little bit more time for creating that one last feature that we really, really want. That's okay, you can leave it out. But if you have a bug, miss the deadline, fix that bug. And featured by Apple. Need I say more? You can go for regional app stores. Be #1 in regional app stores. That'll help your game actually gain visibility, and then you can go to Apple and say, look, I'm #1 in 70 different countries. Feature me. Back in the day, it was actually really, really easy in Finland to make it to #1. It only took 7 downloads. So you tell your friends to download the game, they download the game, you're #1. Today, it's a little bit more complicated, but still, you can do a lot of work for it. You can do some grassroots marketing, you can contact blogs and media in different countries. Take the time to do that. It's a good thing. And finally, spread the word. Let me give you an example, or a couple. right. So we made an animation video. We made a trailer when we started. When the game was ready, you know, you just don't cross fingers to say this is going to go fantastic. You know, you do anything you can. And this video nowadays has over 80 million views. That's a great marketing tool. And you have to do very little about it. Actually, back then when it was released, there were no other good videos regarding games on the App Store, and that was something to make it stand out. Well, okay, sorry about that. There was Red Links. They did a video. They're also from Finland. They did a video for the game Monster Trucks, and that got 300,000 views, and it was for a while #1 in the App Store. But you know, YouTube, use it, and while you're in YouTube, make some walkthrough videos. If you believe there are some nasty levels right there, you don't want people to get too frustrated. You can use social media to spread the word. You can use Facebook, Google+. You know, you can do so many with these things. You can post game screenshots, walkthrough captures, posters, desktop backgrounds, e-cards, and it's cheap. You do it yourself, you put it there, and it's available to people. Today, Angry Birds Facebook page counts 22.5 million likes. That's number 3 in the list of games, but actually we spent no money in advertising. You can do Twitter, Tumblr, and don't forget to listen to the fans. I know I'm running out of time, but I want to say this one thing. It's really cool, guys. So, you know, we answer every email. We take into consideration every piece of feedback. We respond to every tweet that comes our way, and there's a lot of other things you can do. This is pretty amazing. This is a picture from 5-year-old Ethan from Texas. He sent it to Rovio to show us how a great level looks like. And you can see there's like some floppy bits going on. There's some like diamonds and treasure chests. He was very strict about what we needed to do. And we did it. Yeah, I mean, he took the time to share his idea. That time is valuable to him. And you know, we thought that it's great that he went into all the trouble and we made his level. And actually, there was one last thing we needed to do because it wasn't our level. If you zoom out, there's his name. Ethan's name is in the background if you zoom out. And yeah, you keep your fans happy. Hopefully one day they'll do a lot of your marketing for you, like they do it for Angry Birds nowadays. Check out what, you know, a dad had to do because of a happy little fan. Check out, you know, what people do when they think that your characters have street credibility. And check out when, what people do when things get out of hand. Yeah, that, I don't know, you might not want to do that. Yeah, I love Angry Birds, but I personally wouldn't. And you know, there's a lot of other examples. Yeah, a bento box, and for dessert, cake. Everybody loves cake, right? Okay, let's wrap this up. You want to remember a few things when I finish my presentation, and I hope these things, I really do sincerely hope, because I love developing games, that you can use these things to make a successful game. I don't want to keep all the success for myself. I want to share it. So, make games that are easy to understand. Don't overcomplicate things. Memorable heroes. You can't build a brand without memorable heroes. Quick and rewarding gameplay sessions. You want to be able to pick up the game, play a little while, put it on the side, answer that phone call, continue where you left off without losing significant progress. Humor, put a smile on people's faces, avoid explicit humor. Value for money, don't be afraid to sacrifice your price point in order to hit those high download volumes, and have a battle plan. Don't just cross fingers when you're ready. You know, create animations, social media exposure, all the things we talked about. Finally, be grateful if you're working for games, respectful, nice, committed, and open with your team members. Thank you very much. And may the force be with you. I think we got 10 minutes for questions. All right. So
Yes.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. All right. I'm gonna if there's a good question, okay. If there's any question, I'm gonna come to the front and throw you a little plushie. So do ask questions. Don't be silent. Who wants to go first? All right. I'll go from front to back.
Let's share this way. This is my guys. Okay.
All right.
So,
Wait a second.
hi.
Catch. There we go.
Thank you. You said that Rovio made a lot of games before Angry Birds, and
Hold on a second, because you're saying it in English. I hear it in Ukrainian, I think so. this works both ways around. So yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
you said that Rovio made a lot of games before Angry Birds.
Yes.
And my question is, what game was the most successful before Angry Birds, and what did Rovio do wrong that this game was not so successful as Angry Birds?
Okay. I can't tell you which one was the most successful. I don't have the numbers for that, but I can tell you. I can tell you a few things that they were doing wrong, and I addressed it in my presentation, saying that basically, they were trying to do two hardcore concepts. I have tried a couple of games that I found on the website, or some cached version of the website, which had werewolves, and they were pretty hardcore. Not something that I would give to my kid. Basically, I think that was what was wrong with it, and a couple of others that didn't have memorable characters. Okay, be ready to catch. It's the guy with the microphone. People don't give me for yourself. All right, cool.
Здравствуйте.
Yes, now we need that. Okay, here we go.
Меня зовут Игорь, я работаю левел-дизайнером Siege Hero, для игры Siege Hero. И
Not
хотел бы
working.
спросить, вот такой вопрос.
Excuse me, I need to probably press something. Power button. All right, try it again.
Меня зовут Игорь, я работаю левел-дизайнером в игре Siege Hero, и интересует такой вопрос, почему вы до сих пор не дали пользователям возможности, не открыли свой редактор, не дали свой редактор уровней в общий доступ, и чтобы хотя бы в вашей Facebook-версии Angry Birds пользователи смогли сами создавать уровни и обмениваться ими друг с другом. Почему?
Okay. Do this. If I got it right, it's about, you're asking about Angry Birds Friends, the Facebook version, and you're wondering why it's not a more open environment, one that will allow players to create their own levels. Well, it resonates perfectly with what I said before. It's fun to make levels, but for how many people is it fun? If you're a designer, it's cool. If you are a producer or a programmer that has worked on a lot of projects, you might get the urge to make a level. But my mom seriously would not make a level. And my kid couldn't make a level. So those games, you can approach them in many different ways. You can make them, you can put them down to the mid-core level of gaming, but actually they're not for everyone. Like making levels is hard work. Making good levels is hard work. There you go.
Вопрос такой, вот вы перечислили составляющие успешной игры на примере Angry Birds. Я знаю, что еще выпускала Rovio игру Amazing Alex, и у нее ну, тоже были составляющие такие, но она почему-то не стала такой популярной. Как вы считаете, почему? И вот последняя игра про свиней, она стала популярной. В чем разница? Почему так произошло? Как вы считаете?
Good question. Okay. You know, it's really hard to try to do another Angry Birds game, especially if you're called Rovio. It's really hard to top that success. But does it mean that you should stop trying? Does it mean that you should stop? You bring all the elements that you can together, and you hope that you've got everything right. In the case of Alex, we did the best we can. It's not a bad game. It's a great game. Well, it's not necessarily, you know, as straightforward as the birds, and it actually lacks the birds and the pigs. That could be an explanation to it. The pigs game, the bad piggies game, it does have the pigs. I believe that, you know, even if it's a little bit more challenging, people will invest their time in trying to make the solutions work because it's fun. And actually, you know, when we were developing that game, nobody was paying attention. Nobody was paying attention at whether you got 1 star, 2 stars, or 3 stars. People spend their time mainly doing impossible devices, like devices that would never fly, just to see them get destroyed. And there were a lot of laughs we had with that. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take that one and then one from the back because we've been doing a lot from the front row.
Now. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Насколько мне известно, большая часть прибыли собственно, с проекта Angry Birds была получена с продажи атрибутики, а не непосредственно с продажи игры. Вот не могли бы вы прокомментировать эту ситуацию? Ну так ли это? Ну, я имею в виду атрибутика, там различные там, футболки и так далее, игрушки. Спасибо.
Right. You know, I do not have the figures. I really don't have the figures to know how much money other departments of Rovio are making. Like I said, I came here as a producer. But I don't know. The game is not doing that bad, right? In that sense, it's okay. And we tried with the game. Well, I mean, the team tried with the game to make something that can be marketed. Yeah, great. I mean, money pouring in, right? It doesn't matter where it comes from. And you know, with everybody at Rovio feels very, very proud that it all started with a game. I mean, you've seen Mickey Mouse. It started with animation. You've seen this and that. But you know, we started this with a game. Let's take one. Yeah. Huh?
Hello, I will be talking in English, so you can...
Fantastic. All right. Fire away.
My question is about content updates versus new versions. So, how frequent are you planning to make content updates? So, we have initial release, and in 2 weeks we will add like 20 levels. And in a month we will make a sequel, etc.
Okay, this is an easy one. Once you get a hit game and you got some money to spare, you're very picky. I'm not in charge of the roadmap, so I'm not in the mind of our VP, but I can tell you that from my perspective, we take as much time as we need to come out with a new version or an update, and when it feels right, there is no... I mean, you can say that Seasons gets regular updates, the Angry Birds Seasons version, because, you know, when it's Christmas or you know, summertime or Easter, you have a reason to go out with an update, and, you know, you can address regional AppStores that way, such as, you know, it's big market is United States, you go for
How much new have to be the new version versus level
It's gonna be new when there is something that feels right. There is no, absolute specific list of criteria that we use. I wish and I hope I could give you, the answer that you're looking for, but basically, people prototype things and people, come up with new ideas, but if they feel right, they'll make it in the game. If they don't, they won't. All right. Okay. Hey. You get the girl bird.
Спасибо.
No worries.
Вопрос такой. Я играю на андроиде. У меня... Я как украинский плеер-игрок, я играю бесплатно, естественно. Такой вопрос. У вас есть в данный момент 4 версии. Это Angry Birds, Rio, Сезон и Space World. Так вот, когда я начинал играть в Angry Birds, мало уровней. Почему? Получается, вы не поддерживаете какую-то игру, развиваете, начинаете развивать следующий сезон там, или Рио, или космический. Такой вопрос. Почему вы не подтягиваете все игры одновременно? Но они как-то получается, что у вас Angry Birds остановился по уровням. Меня интересует количество уровней. Очень мало получается уровней. Я трачу на один уровень там где-то 2 минуты. И меня интересует как игрока большее количество уровней.
Are you done? Okay. Okay. I just got the translation of it, so I guess I missed the fun part. But fair comment. This is a very difficult one to answer because basically I don't have an overview of the whole company and what gets submitted to which app store and what's going on with Android. I know that every new game, at least the ones that we're doing right now, are available in these markets. But I don't know if every update actually comes out on every device, and I guess there are good reasons. I'm not the right person to answer why they decide to give fewer levels to Android if that is the case. I'm sure there is really good reasons. A personal answer, meaning if I would have to rationalize it, and it might be the wrong answer. So don't take my word for it. You know how many variations and how much work has to go into making an Angry Birds version available to all the stores, all the different handset versions. It's pretty heavy, but this is just me. They might scold me when I go back to Finland for saying that.
I'm afraid we're out of time. We have to prepare for the next session, so maybe you will ask your questions personally for Anastasios.
You can pick up my cards from the desk if you want to contact me for something. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll go have a few beers. Come find me.